Hello there and welcome to my video. Today I'm gonna talk about toxicity in League of Legends. Before I'm going to cover why it happens in League of Legends, I want to explain what it means and how a person becomes toxic. Toxicity in gaming means that someone is showing a bad attitude or bad behavior. This mostly shows an aggressive behavior. A toxic person is mostly seen complaining or swearing. Now, why does a person become toxic? A few things could come into play for a person to become toxic. One of the reasons could be that the person wants to bring other people down so that they can lift themselves up. For example, your teammate dies near you and they start blaming you for it. No matter the reason, people that are like this could fall under the disinhibition effects. People feel safer saying things online which they could not say in real life because they have the ability to remain completely anonymous and invisible behind the computer screen. They may also have difficulty seeing what it does to the other person because they are behind the screen as well. They can't empathize because no emotion is shown. Some people feel like they talk to a wall and not to another person. Here you can see my Vayne top laner getting mad at me after Aramis ganked her for a second time. She was pushed out rather far, had no wards in her river or tribush, and I was too far away to help her. I took the wise decision of ignoring her and carrying on. Later in the game she calms down and I complimented her further on the good plays she made. Another reason could be, and I find this very interesting, is that it could be a thought personality. I personally became more toxic myself when I started playing League. Does this mean that League is the one that teaches people to become toxic? No. Let me explain to you how it comes to play with this simple quote. What you give attention to grows. When I played League a few days ago, I've noticed something very funny. Whenever people say well played or good job, rarely anyone ever responds to these comments. But if someone says why the F did you do that or you really suck, most of the time the chat starts to flow with messages. Does this mean that the negative person seeks attention? Probably not, but that does get stimulated with a response. There is a way to fix it, even if it might be rather difficult. Becoming toxic in return is not a solution, because let me quote again, what you give attention to grows. This means that you have to put up with the difficult task of trying to ignore the toxic person. Yes, you could mute all to prevent yourself from the risk of becoming toxic, but I'm personally not a fan of it. There is no way that you can punish the player for being toxic. Riot is there to do that job for you. Punishing the player by becoming toxic yourself is not a punishment. It is quite the opposite, because that is exactly what the toxic person wants you to become. If you ignore their toxic behavior, they will probably calm down. A good way to make them calm down is giving the attention to the opposite. Psychologist Burrus Skinner once invented the Skinner box. For example, a rat is stuck in a box, and by pulling a lever, a wall would open with delicious cheese. With food being a positive stimulus, imagine what the rat will try again to get more cheese. Exactly, pull the lever. The same was invented for Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. We have this lovely timeline with all these amazing posts, and all you have to do is refresh your timeline to receive even more posts. What is the positive stimulus in this example? It is seeing something new after you've refreshed your timeline. Now all we have to think of is finding a positive stimulus in League of Legends. I personally think that giving compliments is a great idea. A compliment is easily given, and you could make the other person feel much better about themselves. There are different ways to give compliments. There is a flat compliment, like, I really like that skin on your champion. It doesn't really tell anything about themselves. But there are also compliments that could highlight someone's personality or skill. That was a great call out. Or, you're farming really well, keep it up. Or another one, you executed that fight really well. And there's also the simpler ones where you just say good job or well done after a good team fight, for example. You don't have to wait for a person to become toxic, just to try and seek out their positive ways to try and lift them up. You can look at your other teammates, see what they do right. Usually the toxic person will try and seek out the same validation as well. If you give attention to their positivity, they'll try and find ways to receive more. League of Legends is a difficult game. One mistake could be fatal for a loss. Some people don't like losing, which is understandable, but in the end, it is still a game. Most of the time, mistakes happen because someone underestimated the situation. This isn't a problem, this is actually very good, because once people start realizing that they've underestimated the situation, they'll learn from it. It is like holding your finger next to a candlelight. You burn your finger and you tell yourself not to put your finger close to the fire again. Or you walk on the sidewalk closely to the road, a truck drives past and splashes you as it drives into a puddle. You've learned to not walk so close to the road again. We call these natural stimuli. Questions like, why did you go in? I highly doubt you could expect an answer that says, because I was really looking forward to dying. Most of the time, the answer is, because I underestimated the situation. Try in all your power to not make any toxic comments, because what do you think that will happen when your whole team becomes toxic and rather complain or swear in chat than play a game? You are set up for a loss, and I am very certain that all of you are toxic in chat because you want to prevent exactly that. The reason why you are most likely going to lose when your team becomes toxic is because you all get distracted. One time, my teammates became so toxic that I had to do the inevitable, which was the mute all option. I was no longer distracted by the chat, I focused on my gameplay and carried the game. No matter what happens, try and stay positive. When I was no longer distracted by the chat, I couldn't only focus on my own gameplay, but also the gameplay of my teammates. Whenever they executed something well, I complimented them for it and we won the game. Thank you so much for listening to my video. I really appreciate it. I'm sending all my positive vibes to you and keep smiling. Thanks.